why high achieving women may struggle to find love and how to fix that. Hi, my name is Dr. Mari Kovanen. Welcome to this How to Date Successfully podcast. Today, we'll be talking about why successful women, high achieving women, may struggle to find love with the right person. It is my goal for this podcast and YouTube channel to share this science-based but also practice-based knowledge about dating, finding love, and forming a conscious relationship, so that you can then go out there and meet the right person for you and build this beautiful relationship together. But first, would you like to feel blissful when you go on your date? Go now and download Pre-Date Bliss Meditation. It will help you to calm your nervous system before you go on that very important date. And it will help you to be present and engage with that more playful side of you, so that then you can see whether this guy has potential to be the person who you want to really explore more. But let's go back to the episode today. Many high achieving women often say it is so difficult to find a good man. And yes, maybe statistics may say that there are more high achieving women out there than potential men. And often women tend to date either on the same education and income level, whereas for men, it's slightly different. So potentially there's less suitable men out there, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any, and there aren't any available. So today we will focus on understanding what kind of energy you might be bringing on your dates or to your dating experience that can potentially hinder your dating experience and finding love. So we will talk about women's empowerment. We will talk about this good girl syndrome, how those will impact your dating experience. We will also talk about what is really then the goal and what will help you to be more of this energy that will attract the right kind of person. So let's talk about, first of all, women's empowerment. And I've spoken about women's empowerment already in a previous episode when we talked about psychology and what we've been told about us women in this modern age and how we can really achieve everything a man can do. So you are out there working in an environment that's potentially quite a stressful environment. And it is an environment that makes you to be in a state of high stress, or your cortisol levels are quite high. And what will do to you, that kind of environment, is that you are in that sort of what I call as doing mode. You're doing everything, you're planning, you are strategizing, you are managing, all of those things. And you are in that sort of energetic state of doing. And then when we talk about this good girl syndrome, is that often women are also from really young onwards being taught to be caregivers and giving to others, and at the same time ignoring their own needs. And this will lead to a dynamic of I give more than I will receive, or that is somehow shameful to receive. So you might be, again, you are in that doing mode regardless of whether it's at work, but also maybe in your personal relationships too. And this will have certain consequences on your dating, but also the type of person who you might attract. So let's talk about this. For example, what this might look like then, how you're dating. You are at work all day, potentially, as I said, quite a driven environment. You might be there managing lots of people. And if you then go on the date straight away after work, like many people do. It's a very common experience of going for a date after work. And I've done that many times when I was single too. What's happening in that unless you have some sort of ritual of calming your nervous system, you will be in that high state of arousal because you've been doing things and you've been really focusing on all of these big ideas, business strategies, and all of these kind of things. And this will raise your cortisol levels. And it's a signal to your body that you are in some ways potentially like emotionally in danger. And your body doesn't distinguish between emotional or physical danger. So you're in that state, in that kind of fight or flight state in some ways. And whilst this may be quite a normal situation for you, but when we are thinking about engaging and our higher parts of the brain, prefrontal cortex, and those parts of the brain are really where we connect with other people. And we connect best with other people when we are in a much more relaxed state. And when we are in a relaxed state, then we can be more playful and more receiving even. So you are, as I said, maybe you go on the date when you just been doing these big business meetings and so on, and you go on the date. Maybe you have even a list on your mind of what you're looking for. And potentially, this is not a judgment. This is just, I'm helping you to see what might be going on there. And hopefully this is helpful then for you to turn around. Okay, so bear with me. So if you go on the date in that state, when you are not really grounded, because your head's kind of somewhere out there, then you potentially, you can't really engage with that person or relax. And maybe you're still thinking about all of these things that you've been thinking about, and your body is in that fight and flight state. Unless you've got some sort of practice to change your gears in some ways. And the chances are that even if that was a good potential candidate and someone suitable, but if you are in that state, your green light is not on that you're really, truly looking for a person. And it might be that you will actually really not notice what's in front of you, potentially. Or potentially, you might also be not able to check really or see if there are any things that are really off. You will not be able to see how your body responds and whether your body is signaling to you something about this person. You might also be in that mode of, as I said, that you are, always in a kind of giving to others. You might end up in this sort of chasing mode. You might feel that it's your duty to do more than the other person. Yeah, you might start chasing the guy. You might start checking, are we still going out on the date and all of that kind of stuff. That you might feel that it's your responsibility in some ways. Well, not at this stage. No. You might take bad behavior or some sort of that sort of maybe ghosting or that kind of behavior personally, because potentially you don't have that sort of protective layers and you might take the whole experience too personally. You might even go out there and organize the whole date because you feel that it's your responsibility or that you know this great restaurant and you want to go there and it would be good if it was there. And whilst that's all great, but what that will lead to is two kinds of problems. Okay. If it's a guy who is really looking for a relationship with someone where he feels that he can contribute. Remember, men get dopamine hits for pursuing women. And they will get rewarded when they can be of use and be helpful to the female. And especially when she's appreciating that. So he is looking out there, potentially unconsciously, of someone who can receive, someone who has an open space in her life for him. Because if your life is in other ways, if it's too busy, either you work so much or you've got so much going on your plate that you are not able to kind of create that space, then potentially that good, great guy is just not interested because there's no space for him. And you are in some ways sending the message that you are rejecting him. Or then potentially you might end up attracting someone who is what I call the lazy lion. The guy who comes for a ride, enjoys this woman who's really high achieving, someone who does it all and he doesn't need to do anything. And he will just come for a ride and enjoy it and say, oh, she's wonderful. She will take care of everything. But believe you me, when it comes to then, if you end up in a relationship and you are with someone who doesn't lift a finger, you will be really furious and frustrated with that. So it's important to really pay attention to the energy that you're bringing on dates. So what can you do instead? So the goal instead is for you, when you go on dates or when you're dating, is to be your fabulous self. Just that, especially on the early days. It's really about you putting the effort to love you first. Really putting the effort to be your full self and giving yourself the love so that you don't need it from someone else. And no one can complete you. I will be repeating this many, many, many times over these episodes. You are already whole. And when you start dating from that perspective, you turn up on dates, you allow him to organize it. Because remember, as we talked about in the last episodes, when we talked about psychobiology, we talked about how you are sort of assessing for this most important role in your life. You are assessing for someone who shows up. And if your goal is to have a family at some point in the future, you want someone who does show up because you want him to contribute and you don't want someone who becomes a child himself, in addition to any children you might have. So your goal is to go on the date, feel your fabulous self, be relaxed, and really then when you are in that state of calm and relaxation, then you can engage that more playful side of yourself and just really have a good time and detach from the whole process. Yes, you are looking for love, but you are leading with energy that I am already whole. I am here. And let's just see how we connect. How our energies are aligned. And this will give you much better stance of finding someone who is compatible and someone who shows up really in the relationship. So it's about learning to receive and observing whether he can contribute, whether it is contributing emotionally, contributing physically in other ways. And this is so important for your future relationship. All right, let's just recap a little bit what we've talked about. So we've talked about going on dates and leaving that doing or always giving mode behind. And really leading much more of a sort of relaxed kind of mode, much more receptive energy. And if you need to kind of practice that more, or how to get more into that in your life on the whole, because you're so used to this adrenaline driven environment. Perhaps you're even doing lots of activities, like lots of running, lots of cardio, exercise, and lots of things that really bring your energy up. And then it's about learning, the balance is to learning really to engage in activities that help you to connect with yourself. So be much more grounded, doing meditation, doing yoga, which is much more kind of spiritual, doing activities that help you to perhaps connect with your more creative side. Perhaps you enjoy drawing. Perhaps you enjoy walks in the park, doing all that kind of things much more instead of leading with that doing energy. And this doesn't mean that you should leave your wonderful doing side, not at all. It is so appreciated and a great side to you. But when you're dating and you're in that mating dance, learning to receive will attract the right kind of person with the right kind of energy into your life. So please remember, give yourself the love you are seeking and you will attract the love you want. And now if you enjoyed this episode, please go and tag someone or tell one person who really needs to hear this. Thank you so much for being here, and go and connect with yourself. Bye for now. Bye.